Welcome everyone who is joining us. My name is Lian and I am joined by Daniel. And we kind of thought of this idea to get together and kind of just share a little bit about our experiences in Taiwan. Daniel and I were in Taiwan kind of at the same time. And so we kind of got to know each other as colleagues and as friends. But we also had like very different and unique experiences while living in that country. And so we thought it would be fun just to kind of get online and just share a little bit of our experience. It's kind of the first time we're doing something like this, and we hope it's going to be lots of fun. We intend for it to be kind of like a casual conversation, kind of podcast style, and then we're going to have some time for some Q&A at the end. So you're welcome to participate by using the chat. Please say hello to us. Let us know where you're from. Makes us feel a little less alone over here in our corners. But then also, if you have any specific questions about life in Taiwan, feel free to drop those in the Q&A and we will address those at the end of our session for today. Also for today, we are really going to be speaking to our own experience. And when we speak to our own experience, we're not claiming to speak for everybody's experience in Taiwan, but just sharing what has been our own experience. So maybe I'll just introduce myself first, and then I'll have Daniel introduce himself. So as I mentioned, my name is Lian, and I'm originally from small town Alberta, Canada. And prior to going to Taiwan to teach, I taught in South Korea. And I kind of found myself in Taiwan unexpectedly, but I fell in love with the country once I got there and ended up spending 4 years there. And some of my things I enjoyed the most about Taiwan were the people, the culture. I did learn some Chinese and I loved the nature and I was able to do a lot of hiking. So I love it whenever people ask me about Taiwan because I just had an amazing time there and I love sharing about it. What about you, Daniel? You want to tell us about yourself?
Oh yeah, I would love to. So my name is Daniel and I am actually from Toronto in Canada. And I went to Taiwan 4 years ago now. And as you just, some of you might have heard, I met Lian on the plane, actually on the flight there. So before going to Taiwan, I was in grad school, I was studying psychology, then I took courses in education, and I've always wanted to go and teach abroad. And so Taiwan was really the first place that I went to teach abroad. And I was really looking forward to going there. I've read so much about Taiwan and I was really excited to see what it's all about. So when I landed there, I initially was going to just be there for a year, ended up being 3 years because the place is so amazing. And hopefully when you listen to us today, you'll hear a lot of the exciting and fun things that make Taiwan such a worthwhile place to go and live and work and study and just in general. It's an amazing place. Yeah.
All right. So Daniel, what are we doing today?
Right. So Lian and I, we thought that one of the best ways to talk about our experience in Taiwan is to think about what we've done, some of the things we've seen, we've tried, and we've done in Taiwan. And we were looking online for sort of have you ever type questions or things like a bucket list of things that you must do in Taiwan. So we found a couple of those lists online. We took some inspiration from those, added a couple of our own experiences, and we're going to be looking through just some of these questions. And for each question, we've made cue cards ahead of time to show you guys if we've done that thing or haven't done that thing. And of course, each of these questions brings up some memories or some anecdote that we've experienced in Taiwan. So we'll also be sharing some of our experiences in life that way. So Lian, are you ready for these questions?
I'm ready to play. I'm ready. I got my answer cards ready.
Let's go. For the first one, have you ever told people about Taiwan and they thought it was Thailand?
Yes.
Yes. Definitely yes. All right, next one. Have you ever eaten stinky tofu?
Did you like it?
Not the first time. So I actually tried it 3 times, and as they say, third time's the charm. And yeah, I was brave enough to keep trying. I think it's an acquired taste.
I agree, this is an acquired taste. Maybe one that I haven't quite acquired yet.
Yeah, I think I still need to keep trying, but that third time was the best of all
But I
time.
recommend trying it. I definitely recommend trying it at least once because it is a
At least
very
once.
distinct flavor of Taiwan.
And distinct smell. Don't forget that. All righty, next one. Have you ever been to the top of Taipei 101?
Oh, you have not.
I have not.
Oh, okay.
No, I also haven't.
I've been
Haven't
twice.
been twice.
Yeah, the first time was on a family trip to Taiwan, actually, prior to me moving there. We did the touristy things and going up the elevator and seeing the observation deck, or seeing the city from the observation deck was one of those things. But I actually participated in a vertical marathon and I ran all the stairs in Taipei 101.
Oh my God, all the way up.
Yeah, well, to the 89th floor. So 89 flights of stairs was enough.
That's a lot of stairs, I
Yeah,
was gonna say.
yeah. So I can say yes, I've been to the top of Taipei 101.
Nice. I haven't been yet, but it's one of those things where it's always there. So I always thought I could visit it, and there were so many other things to do that one kind of just slipped past. Next up, have you ever hitchhiked your way around?
Oh,
Really?
yeah. Yes, I guess there were a couple times when I hitchhiked, which is something that's definitely was a little bit outside my comfort zone because I had never done that anywhere else before. And both times happened when I was hiking. And the cause of that was basically because there's no public transit where we were. And one of the most memorable times was we had come down from this hike and wanted to go up to another trailhead. And it was only a couple kilometers up the road, but it's a windy mountain road and pretty highly trafficked. It's one of the most beautiful places in Taiwan, but attracts a lot of people. And so wasn't really safe to walk on that windy mountain road as pedestrians. So in order to get to the next trailhead, my now husband and my boyfriend at the time, we just flagged down a random car and hoped that they would take pity on us. It was raining too. And the first car that we stopped, or that we waved at, they stopped for us. And I just said like, hey, would you mind? We're trying to go to this place. Would you be able to give us a ride? And by this point in my time in Taiwan, I had learned enough some basic Chinese to be able to communicate that. And they were so kind to us. They were actually a family of 4 with 2 kids in the back. And they were like, just squeeze in with our kids. And so we're like in our hiking gear, dripping wet from the rain. And we squeezed in the back of their tiny little car with their kids in the back. And they were so friendly and they wanted to know where we were from and what we were doing. And even though we were only going a couple kilometers up the road, they said yes to driving us before they even knew where we were going. They just, we don't know where that is, but if you know where it is, we'll take you. And so that really warmed my heart, just to feel like these people were so warm and generous. And that's often something that people talk about with Taiwan. It's just the warmth of the people and how well-meaning they are and how willing they are to help you if you're in distress or if you're lost. They really want to do what they can to help. So that's one of the memories that really sticks in my mind.
I was gonna say, absolutely. That's there are so many stories of people being assisted by locals, but without even like really going out of their way. Like you said, they don't even know sort of what you're looking for, but they're there ready to help. So that's an awesome story.
Mm.
Yeah. I haven't hitchhiked my way around, but I kind of have a plan where I'm going, but sometimes it doesn't work out. I definitely have a story about that a little bit later.
All right, what do we got
So,
next? Have you
let's see.
ever
Actually caught something from a claw machine?
But I will say mine is not for lack of trying. Like I had definitely tried and probably spent too much money in a claw machine.
Okay, I was gonna say mine is a no followed by a slight yes. And it's actually when my friend visited, he was on his way to Japan and he just visited. And there was this toy that he really, really wanted from the claw machine. And so we kept trying. And I thought, having spent some time in Taiwan, I would be much better at those. But I kept trying, I think like 10 times, 15 times, didn't get it. the next time that he tried it, right after me, he got it. So I'm sure I contributed to it. So that's why it's a no followed by a slight yes.
So for those who don't know, these claw machines are incredibly popular in Taiwan right now. You'll find them everywhere, just whole shops just full of them. And it's kind of a fun form of entertainment. And it is possible. I have seen people come with like arms full of like stuffies that have gone out of claw machines. So I know it is possible. And I have been taught that there is some technique. I just have not successfully mastered it.
It's definitely a skill. There's a guy I follow on Instagram who just posts every day. He hauls so many things from those claw machines. It's definitely a skill. All right, next question we've got, have you ever spent a day at Taroko National Park?
I would recommend. Yeah.
Absolutely, beautiful place, so much to do, easily can spend much more than a day there. Next up, have you ever lost your way while hiking? Right,
I would say the only reason why mine is no, it's not because I don't hike, because I do, but I would say my sense of direction is generally pretty good. Signs are usually pretty well matched, and I haven't found myself in many situations where I didn't have GPS signal in Taiwan. But I'm curious to know about your getting lost.
Yeah, no, it's definitely fair that usually the signs are very well made and clear and easy to see. But there was this one hike, I remember it was maybe my first or second month in Taiwan. And I went with a group of teachers there, and we looked on Google Maps on one of the blogs and, planned out where we're going. There should have been a sign there. It was the Sandiaoling hike, if you're familiar with that.
Oh, yep.
Okay.
It looks very similar to this.
Yes.
But it's not this.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, is that a picture from there? So we planned out the hike, we followed the guides online, and we get to the point where there should be a sign that shows us sort of the road forks in two ways. And there should have been a sign there pointing us which way to go. And we're looking, we don't see a sign. So we start walking, and as luck would have it, we picked the wrong way.
Of course.
But we didn't find out until, I don't know, we were maybe 20 minutes up that road, and we realized, okay, we're not seeing the things that we should be seeing. The next landmark, where is it? And we realized, okay, we got to backtrack to that fork and go to the other side. As we're walking, we come across just a couple more people hiking, a mother and her son and daughter. And the son and the daughter, they spoke some English. So they saw that we're clearly lost because we're kind of walking around, looking at things. And they asked us where we're going. So we told them we're actually trying to get to the train station by taking this hiking path. And they're like, oh, okay, we know how to get there. So let us take you there. And they kind of lead us, but they say you need to keep walking along the same path that you had started on. So we walk with them for a little while along that same path, and we come to a point where we part ways. They're like, oh, okay, we got to go here, but you guys just keep walking 5 more minutes and then you'll see it. We keep walking, still no landmark of the thing that we're looking for. There should have been a wall with a giant map, sort of a mural on it, nothing. All of a sudden, the family, the mom and her children are chasing us. And they're like, no, actually, we just realized we told you the wrong way. We were totally confused. We gave you the wrong direction. They get us to ride with them in the car, and they drive us all the way around back to that fork in that road, and they tell us it's actually that way. As we pick that path, we see on the concrete, sort of very faintly, there was an arrow pointing, and that's the arrow that we were sort of looking for. So when you're saying the signs are usually good, yes, but in that case, it wasn't. Next time we went on that hike, they fixed it, and there was very clear signage.
Oh,
but that's my story with people being friendly, even when you're lost and don't know what you're doing.
That was really nice of them to come back when they realized that they had given you the wrong directions.
Yeah. Well, they were just chasing us, saying, "Oh no, we'll drive you guys back." So
Aw,
that was amazing. I really appreciated at that point the kindness of Taiwanese
yeah.
people.
Aw,
Yeah,
truly, truly the kindness of Taiwanese people.
yeah.
What have we
Should we
got
go to the
next?
next one? Let's see
Yeah,
what
let's
we
see.
got. Have you ever, oh, speaking of, have you ever made friends with locals who didn't speak English?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Definitely a bit of an adventure when there's language barrier. Uh, People are still people, but it is a barrier when you aren't able to communicate and you find creative ways to communicate. Um, I definitely found that once I started learning more Chinese, it really did open up a lot for me, and it went a long ways with connecting with people. And so I have this memory in my mind of this hike that I went on with some friends I made who did not speak English. I had met this one guy at the climbing gym, where I used to rock climb, where I used to boulder, and he invited me to come with some of his friends to do this hike, which turned out to be a lot more extreme than I had expected, which I realized once the ropes and the helmets came out that we were
Oh, wow.
doing more than I was expecting.
That's like mountain
Um,
climbing.
it was mountain, but you know what? Like pashan, like the word for hike in Chinese,
Yes.
is climb mountains. So,
Mhm.
so I understood us to be hiking. Um, yes, and I have this memory of myself halfway down a rappel, and it's steep, and I didn't know what I was doing really. Fortunately, the guy who invited me, he was actually like an instructor, and so he was definitely experienced, knew what he was doing. But I started panicking because it was a sharp drop below me. I'm like hanging out on ropes, and they're like just yelling at me in Chinese, and they're probably trying to say things like, oh, put your foot to the right and just lean back and just hold on to it, or all of these things. But all I hear in my panic is just all these things I don't understand. And up until this point, I had been, doing my best to communicate with them in Chinese. And I'm just like, oh, 我听不到，我听不到. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. And the only thing I understood them saying was, does she really not understand? And
Oh.
and so that I understood. But I was able they were so patient with me. And so I just felt really included, that they didn't let the language barrier be a barrier really. And they still invited me along. And we used some translation where we needed to. But again, I think it speaks to like the warmth of Taiwanese people, that they made me feel really included. And it was a memorable experience for me.
Oh yeah. I mean the beginning with the sort of pashan meaning both things. The whole thing is part of just the challenges, I guess, of not speaking the language, but also the really memorable experience that you can get that way. With me, the friends I made were under less extreme situations. It was actually while I was getting breakfast, and I kept going to the same breakfast place because they had this
Aww.
delicious danbing, which for those of you who don't know, it's like a egg scallion pancake with meat, with cheese. It's really delicious. Anyway, I kept going there day after day, and when I started learning Chinese a little bit, I was able to use some of the words that I was learning, and they were very kind and helpful in trying to help me actually understand what they're saying and use the words that I'm learning. So yeah.
Yeah, I really found that like learning just a little bit of a language really goes a long way with people. So
Yeah.
I guess we can also say that in our experience, many people in Taiwan do speak English, and it
Mhm.
isn't the case that there's no one that speaks English. That's not the case at all. In most circumstances, you're able to have someone who's able to communicate with us. So even like before I learned Chinese, I felt like I was still able to get by using English, but learning Chinese did help a lot.
Yeah, honestly, I got to say that was one of the more surprising things for me, just how many people spoke English and how well they spoke it. That you could get by without learning Chinese, but it's definitely much more fun to try a little bit because it leads to really interesting situations. It opens up the communication a bit more with people.
Totally agree.
Yeah, so definitely make friends with locals. Next question we've got, have you ever ridden a scooter?
everyone in Taiwan rides scooters. I didn't do it as my primary form of transportation, but I did have a friend who was trying to teach me how to ride one. What about for you, Daniel?
Yeah, same. Like you said, everybody rides scooters, and when you see that, you want to try. It was in the countryside because I wouldn't dare to try that in Taipei City, not as a beginner at least. But in the countryside, yeah, I rode a scooter for a little bit. Again, my friend was teaching me. I even tried to pass the scooter license test there, but kind of ran out of time to do that, so wasn't able to get my license. Next time.
I was looking at that too, the practicing the course.
Oh yeah. It's
yeah.
The first part is really difficult. You have to balance yourself for 7 seconds without using your feet and ride at a constant speed. Pretty difficult. But it's definitely fun, something to try. Next up, have you ever played with firecrackers at Chinese New Year?
I'm trying to remember if it was at Chinese New Year or if it was at Mid-Autumn Festival when I played with firecrackers. I've played with firecrackers at some festival in Taiwan.
I'd say both. At a celebration.
It's a celebration, yeah.
It's a celebration with firecrackers, yeah. I think that's very common in a lot of the celebrations. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had a full meal at a convenience store? Yep.
Oh, 7-Eleven was my lifesaver sometimes.
Oh yeah, sometimes you just have no time to go and order things, and you go to a 7-Eleven. They have a really nice sort of eating area there, and it's always clean, always well lit. So it's actually quite nice to sit there when you don't have time and have a quick lunch or something.
And I think it's quite contrasted from our convenience store culture in North America, where it's like that's where you get chips and gas and maybe use the restroom. But in Taiwan, at a convenience store, it's just like your hub for so many things. Like there's always an ATM at a convenience store. It's where you pay your bills. It's where you can send packages. It's where you can have packages delivered and pick up your packages there. And their food is genuinely good and affordable and super convenient. So try it.
Yeah, definitely. It's very different from the 7-Elevens that you're used to here, probably. Next up, have you ever been given a freebie at a traditional market?
Was yours fruit? Mine was fruit.
Mine was fruit. Yeah, absolutely fruit. But I mean, okay, so there's a bit of a story here because more than once I've been given free fruit at a traditional market. I think that's pretty common when you go to a traditional market, especially when they see you're a foreigner. They want to sort of, it's a way of welcoming you and giving you some fruit. But I was given fruit that I had no idea what to do with. No explanation. I've never seen that fruit anywhere else. And I was actually with local friends and they also had never seen it. So we were all looking at it. It kind of looked, if you can imagine, like a small durian, but very, very red. And so I was with local friends and the vendor was trying to say something in Chinese, which I could not understand. So my friends had to translate for me. They basically said, like, do not eat it until like 4 days from now. Like, just don't open it until 4 days from now. So I thought, okay, well, it probably needs time to ripen or something. But they're like, no, really, just do not even try it. And so I started Googling, what is this fruit? Is it dangerous? Is it like, will it cause some reaction or something? I was Googling around. It took me, honestly, a long time to find it. Found out that it's called GAC. That's the name of GAC. That's the name of the fruit. Never before seen it. Never seen it since then.
I've never heard of it.
4 days later, I opened it, and inside it kind of looked like large passion fruit seeds, just full of large passion fruits. And the taste was kind of like a cross between a melon and a pear and like an apple. I mean, it was very unique. Never seen it before or since then, but definitely. And yeah, you get lots of fruits at traditional markets. It's a lot of fun.
I think it's just another like that feeling of like kindness and like familiarity that you buy fruit from them and they're like, oh, I'll just throw in some extras for you. And that's really nice.
Yeah, it's that kindness that we kind of keep
Yeah.
noticing. Yeah, for sure. Next up, we've got, have you ever taken the HSR, which stands for the high speed rail? It's a high speed rail that connects many cities in Taiwan. And yes, I've taken the HSR. I mean, it's the,
and convenient.
Yeah, it's the fastest way to travel long distances in Taiwan, really. Well, other than by plane, but there's really, HSR is better. Next up, have you ever ridden a U-bike?
I love the U-bike system in Taiwan. It's one of the things I miss the most now being back in Canada. So the U-bike system in Taiwan is basically a bike share system that is integrated with the public transit system. So you have one transit card that you use for the MRT, the train, and the bus, and also for a bicycle, these road bikes. And there's stations all over the city, and you just scan it to take your bike out. And then when you're done, you turn it and tap your card again. And they are super easy to ride and they're super cheap. And so actually this was one of my primary modes of transportation when I was in Taipei, because Taipei is surrounded by mountains, but the city itself is in a river basin and it is flat, which makes it perfect. Being an urban setting that is flat makes it perfect for biking. So I took a bike to school every day, and it was just so convenient. And then not only the convenience, like I also felt like I was able to just live an active lifestyle, like just being active and cycling was just part of my everyday life. I didn't have to add it in. It was just part of my life. So that was one thing that I really, really appreciated and do miss.
Yeah, I was going to say also the U-bikes, if you have the pass, the monthly transit pass, and you get the U-bike and you ride for less than 30 minutes, then it's free. So actually to get to work, I was taking the U-bike in the mornings when it wasn't too hot or humid. I was just U-biking to work and trying to make it in under 30 minutes. And then it's like, hey, free ride to get to work. So that was almost like a daily thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
U-bikes are very convenient. There's stations everywhere. Oh, have you ever seen snow in Taiwan?
Oh,
really? I mean, I know there is snow in Taiwan. Mm-hmm. Tell me.
Oh, in my first year, I climbed the appropriately named Snow Mountain, which is the second highest peak in Taiwan. And in the wintertime, there is snow. So, yep, did bring my winter stuff, crampons for climbing in the snow. And I did get the worst sunburn of my life on that trip. But it was
in the snow.
I think in the snow, because all that light like reflects. It was a beautiful like blue sky, bright sun, all of that reflecting on the snow on our faces all day. So I just had my sunglasses and my whole face was red. I think something especially memorable about that experience was, I'm from Canada. I grew up in like a very snowy part of Canada where I'm used to snow. I'm used to skiing, these kinds of things. But everyone else in my party, they were all Taiwanese, and for them, snow is a very special, unique experience. And I remember other people in my hiking party, even one of my friends was extremely nervous about climbing, like walking down on the snow, because they're unfamiliar with the way it feels underfoot. They're unfamiliar with the way it moves, and they're just so nervous about where to put their feet while walking in the snow. Whereas for me, growing up with snow my whole life, it was not really anything special.
Canada, enough said.
But it was definitely memorable doing that with my Taiwanese friends.
That's really cool. So it was their first time seeing snow for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Nice. Next, although, so it does get cold in Taiwan, but not, snow levels of cold. It's only on that one mountain that is aptly named Snow Mountain.
Yeah, higher elevation will get it at some time. The landscape in Taiwan is so diverse, but generally in the cities, we would never see it.
Never, yeah. Gets to like 10, 15 degrees. All right, have you ever visited one of Taiwan's outlying islands?
I have not.
Okay.
I know.
And I mean, okay, so there are so many to choose from. And for me, I kept hearing about all the different islands. You know, there's Green Island, there's Turtle Island, there's Kinmen. Immediately seemed interesting to me, just because all the history that is related to Kinmen. So Kinmen is an island that has a lot of history with it. The Aboriginal sort of people started there, and also it is a bit closer to China. So there's a lot of there are a lot of people going back and forth from Kinmen and China, and it's not, I guess, like a popular tourist destination, which also made it really interesting for me. So I visited Kinmen, but that's the only island I've visited so far.
I mean, I wanted to. I guess it just wasn't a high priority because there's always so much to explore on the main island. I guess if you count Turtle Island, I did do Turtle Island. That one is just like it's a day trip. It's just a
Mhm.
ferry out and ferry back, and no one lives on Turtle Island. It's so just a day trip. But
Yeah,
yeah, I hear that there's some really beautiful, beautiful other islands, like in addition to the main island of Taiwan.
yeah, lots to explore.
Mm.
Have you ever accidentally said something inappropriate in Chinese?
Really? Just me?
Well, mine wasn't an accident. So
Oh,
there's I was set up a little bit, but I kind of knew it. So it wasn't really an accident. What's yours? You accidentally said something?
um, well, a couple. Well, one of them was just in my Chinese class. Sometimes it's with the tones in Taiwan, or sorry, in Chinese, it can be a little bit tricky. So,
Oh,
but in the safe environment of the classroom, my Chinese teacher corrected me that the word for to ask, like to ask a question, and the word to kiss are similar. So instead of saying I want to ask you, I want to kiss you, and so and she's like, and she corrected my tones. Like, okay, got it. I'll remember that one. And then another one, I was on a hiking trip with local friends again, and one of the girls in the party, I called her what I thought was her name, but I actually just called her like the word for like annoying.
oh, ouch.
I didn't know, but I heard, I said it, and then these other girls in the party started where they're like, oh, like they reacted, they visibly reacted. But this girl was really sweet to me, and she didn't say anything that I had like said her name. And it wasn't until like much later that I had learned some more Chinese and I reflected on that incident. Was like, oh, that's why those girls were reacting
Oh
to
no,
what I
you
said.
realized that later on.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Chinese,
no,
it's tricky.
it's tricky. The tones are definitely tricky. With me, it wasn't even like a difference between the tones. I was going to say, I was joking around with friends, and they kind of they taught me the word for shut up. And, between friends, I was going to say shut up. Accidentally, I said another word that now I know is not really similar, but in my mind sounded similar, and it's basically the B word. So my friend, who was ready for a joking, sort of playful shut up, instead was like, whoa, taking it back a little bit. And I was like, wait, what did I say? And then I realized I apologized. I
Aww.
mean, we had a good laugh about it. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
ever since that
Mm-hmm.
day, I did not confuse those two words anymore, as I'm sure you don't confuse the two
Yes.
words for kiss and ask.
Mm-hmm. But it's a learning process. I think that learning a language is really rewarding and fun and has some adventures to it. Um, and it's worthwhile. But yeah, I think especially as foreigners, like seeing that we're making an effort, like that's really counts for a lot, even though we make mistakes. Like everyone's so gracious.
Yeah, everybody's very understanding. Next up, have you ever gone shrimping?
Oh, do you know what shrimping is?
I do, but let's tell everybody else.
Okay, like so shrimping is this kind of unique pastime where there's a big tank or a big pool full of murky water, and that murky water is stocked with shrimp. And they're talking like big shrimp. They're like this. And you pay by the hour for a pole, like a fishing pole with some line and some bait, and you can just catch shrimp out of this pool. And whatever you catch, you can either barbecue it yourself, or you can have the staff prepare them for you, and basically you eat what you catch. And then at these shrimping venues, you can also order food and have drinks, and it's kind of just like this fun social activity that I've never really seen or experienced anywhere else. And it's actually really fun, and I've been like many times.
It's
because it's
oh wow,
actually
it's
really
I mean
fun.
it's always looked fun. And one of the documentaries that I was watching about Taiwan before I actually came to Taiwan mentioned shrimping, and I remember thinking, oh, that would be really cool. I want to try that. But I don't know, none of the friends that I made were really that much into that idea. And again, there were
I guess I
always
should have taken you.
yeah, well, it's I'm sure that I'll still get to try it sometime, but I've done so many other things that honestly I don't feel like it's a huge thing that I'm missing. But yeah, it's always sounded really fun.
It's funny because to me it always sounded like not fun, but then actually going was actually really fun. So I would say to anyone, like, if you get invited to do something that maybe doesn't sound fun, like, just try it and it might turn out to be super fun.
Yeah. See what we got. Have you ever been to a Mid-Autumn Festival celebration?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny because, again, the first month that I was in Taiwan, I went with friends to Keelung, which is just off near the coast, the northeast coast. And it was during the Mid-Autumn Festival, and we were at the night market, and all of a sudden we see this huge parade coming through, you know, firecrackers, like lion dances, all the different masks and everything that they have for Mid-Autumn Festival. And there was this procession of people walking, and then people started from among the crowd, just sort of forming a line, a queue, and crouching. And one of the locals pulled me and my friends, complete stranger, pulled us and was like, here, join us. And we're like, oh, what are we doing? What are we about to be a part of? But, you know, again, you go to a new place, you want to experience new things. We joined it, and we were kind of pulled along into this parade and given something to carry. And just for a bit, we walked around and shook some things and carried them. And then we sort of duck out to keep enjoying the night market. But that was one of the first experiences where I was like, okay, this is different.
Oh, that's fun that they just included you.
Yeah, they just saw, again, I think it's part of that including foreigners, including everybody else in the culture, being kind to others. Yeah. Let's see what else we got. Have you ever soaked in a natural hot springs? Yes, many times.
Taiwan has lots of great ones, like indoor, outdoor, like the natural ones. It's just a hot place.
Yeah. Have you ever felt an earthquake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the time, to the point where even though there aren't earthquakes where I live now in Canada, I sometimes feel like phantom earthquake. Like I feel a shaking and I think it's an earthquake because it happened that often in Taiwan that I just got so used to it. So small, everything from like a small like tremor that most people don't feel, or you might barely feel and be like, was that an earthquake, or was that just a heavy truck driving by? All the way to I've experienced like some like that definitely scared me and felt like feeling that the building moved kind of earthquakes, but never
and it like
in
depends
any that were
how high up you are, right? Like,
but I never experienced personally, I never experienced any that like where there was like a lot of like destruction. Like Taiwan's infrastructure
I haven't experienced any.
Yeah. Oh really?
Well, no, I've experienced earthquakes, but not destruction. Like I've never seen like nothing even fell off the shelves at my place. Like it was always shaking and swaying back and forth, but nothing ever fell or broke. So yeah.
And that's part of the infrastructure. Like it's built for being in an earthquake zone.
Right. They're prepared for it. They know what to expect.
All right,
So
what's
what else
next?
we got? Have you ever sweat through all your clothes in the summer humidity? I think that's a pretty easy yes for
I feel like it's
most
just a
people
fact
in
of life in the
Taiwan.
summer in Taiwan that it is so hot and humid. And there's AC everywhere when you're indoors, but as soon as you step out from the AC, like it hits you. I think the one consolation is that like everybody's experiencing it together and
Yeah.
we just kind of embrace it.
Yeah, it's just some days you wake up, you take a shower, you maybe come back after work, take a shower in the evening, another shower. 3 showers a day, pretty normal when you walk outside and within 5 minutes you're sweating.
I would say, even though the summer is so hot in Taiwan, and Taiwan is a subtropical country, something that threw me off was how cold the winter actually is. I remember before I went to Taiwan, people told me like, careful, like it's cold in the winter time in Taiwan. I was like, how cold? Like, oh, it could be like 10, 15 degrees. I was like, like I'm Canadian. Like I that's nothing. That's like summertime. That's like we're putting our shorts on. Like I'm used to like -30, -40. So I'm pretty sure that it's gonna be fine. And then I experienced Taiwan's winter and was put in my rightful place. Because it's cold. And
It
I
gets
think the
cold, yeah.
reason why it felt so cold to me, part of it was just because of the humidity, and I'm from a very dry place. So the humidity makes it feel very chilling. And then also, there's no heat. There's no heat in the building. So when it's 15 degrees outside, it's also 15 degrees in your apartment. So the we don't have heat the homes like the way we do in like Canada. And then the insulation is also not the same either. So that was something I was caught off guard by. I was anticipating the hot summer, but I wasn't quite anticipating the cold in the winter.
Yeah, I mean, some of the places now do have heating, but traditionally, yeah, they haven't really, I guess, needed it. So when it's cold outside, cold inside, all you can do is sit there and try to warm up.
Oh, and our kids in the classroom with their school uniforms over their puffer jacket.
Right, yeah,
Oh
wearing their
yeah.
jackets in the class.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wearing my jacket too. Not the winter jacket, though. It doesn't get that cold. So Lian, have you ever gone to a clinic or a hospital in Taipei?
In Taiwan? Yep.
Hey, in Taiwan, yes.
Fortunately, I didn't have any like emergency needs, but I can definitely say like I was so impressed with the healthcare system in Taiwan. I was so incredibly impressed by how accessible, how fast, and how cheap receiving any kind of healthcare was. So whether it was something really simple like having a persistent cough that wouldn't go away and just getting in with just going into a clinic and having a doctor prescribe something super simple, fast, just take a number, like I went to a dermatologist, those kinds of things. Like seeing a specialist was so easy. It was so easy to even get in with a specialist for whatever I needed.
Right, like because you can book the specialist directly there. You kind of don't have to jump through hoops or go through intermediate steps. If you get on, even online, I was able to book specialists.
Yeah, and the
Very
wait time,
convenient.
like very minimal, very efficient. So yeah, I just have like positive things to say about it, and like really high quality too.
Yeah, same. I mean, the handful of times that I've gone to a clinic or a hospital, also nothing serious. But well, I did have a dental procedure, like a filling, filled in, came out, filled in, and yeah, top quality. Really, on that very day, I was able to get an appointment and go to see the dentist. And with the insurance, it was honestly very cheap. Like, can't even compare it to how it would be here in Canada. So top quality, really affordable. Yeah. Let's see. I think now we've come to the Q&A portion. So we've got a bit of time left. We do have some other questions we could go through, but we would absolutely love to see if there's anybody that has questions about our experiences in Taiwan, living, working, exploring. So please use the chat or the Q&A form if you've got any questions you'd like to submit. And let me just take a look at that. Okay, we've got, let's see. How is the water in Taiwan? Is a filter needed?
I would say in my experience, I never used a water filter, but I did boil my water. That is related to just kind of being cautious, especially since it is like a subtropical country, and there can be things that can whatever bacteria and stuff in the water, especially if for any reason if it's sitting in the pipes for a while. I just boiled my water and I never got sick from the water. Lots of places have a water dispenser that's specifically for drinking water. I do know other people who use water filters using like a Brita filter or something. It's kind of what you're comfortable with, but I would say generally we don't drink the water straight from the tap. Either boil it, filter it, or just drink it from a water like water machine. What's that called? What's
like
that called
a cooler?
Like a
a water fountain or a cooler. Definitely. I've kind of done both. I've boiled my water and used the filter. Not both steps, but just sometimes I would boil it, and then after a while I just bought a Brita filter and I was using that for a while, and then I started boiling it as well. Like the water is just I think, like you said, it's just if our stomachs are not used to the water there, the bacteria, both like healthy bacteria that's in the water there, it's just takes some time. But I think actually after a while you kind of can get used to it as well. I know I have some friends who haven't been filtering their water or boiling it, and they just can drink it. That's fine.
Oh, really?
But I think it's a good idea to boil it or filter it. Yeah. Let's see. There's one more question. Well, a couple more, but let's see. We've got time. Coming from teaching in Korea, so I guess that's for you, Lian, what were some differences or similarities between Taiwan and Korea, specifically teaching-wise?
That's a good question. I will first say that my like contextual experience teaching in Korea and Taiwan was quite different in terms of while I was teaching in Korea, I was teaching in I guess an international kind of school setting where we were using Canadian curriculum. And so it was a private school. But everything that they did for the students was all in English. As opposed to when I was teaching in Taiwan, I was teaching in a local school, also a private school, but a local school. So in Korea, we kind of did things more, at least in the school setting, we did things more the Canadian way. Whereas in Taiwan, we definitely had more of those cultural differences, I guess, between the way they did things in Taiwanese school and the way in our ESL program, which is structured more in a Western style. That there was kind of like some tension between this just because they're a little bit different and the kids are not necessarily used to the differences in systems. Something I would say about Korea that teachers also notice in Taiwan is that students face a lot of academic pressure. I would say that that's common in not just in Taiwan and in Korea, but I definitely noticed it when I was there. Teachers in Taiwan noticed that these kids are under so much pressure, but in my experience coming from Korea, I actually felt like the students in Taiwan had a bit more freedom, and it was a little bit more, they didn't carry as much of that pressure. I don't know if that comes from like a cultural difference. That was something I noticed, or if it's a contextual difference, like I said, teaching in different types of schools. I guess a little bit about the lifestyle living in Korea and Taiwan. Some of the biggest differences in Korea, I did find it at times kind of hard to connect with local people. I think that they're very curious about foreigners, but there is a distinct kind of tangible like inside outside culture. that I found sometimes hard to break. And that was just my personal experience. I know that's not everyone's experience in Korea, where I was very surprised in Taiwan to feel so welcomed and to not feel that strong sense of a you're not one of us
Yeah,
divide. And I felt
I've kind of heard that about some other places, whereas in Taiwan, I can't say that I've really experienced that sense of you're not one. There's both the curiosity about you and your life, but also that willingness to welcome you into their whatever it is, like sharing the food, sharing the culture, sharing the traditions. Yeah, definitely felt that.
yeah, I felt part of that was maybe like, I know what I experienced in Korea is Koreans have a very strong sense of cultural identity. Like they have a strong sense of like, we are Korean and this Korean pride. And I feel like in Taiwan, maybe just that sense of cultural identity is not as strong because Taiwan is actually multicultural. People might not see it that way, but like Taiwan is a mix of people from China, from like Aboriginal Taiwan, people who've been in Taiwan from different times of in history. Like, so there is more diversity actually in Taiwan. And so I felt like that maybe played into that a little bit. So I don't know if that answers the question that's been asked about some of the similarities and differences. But similarities, I would say definitely if you're coming from Korea and coming to Taiwan, you will be very pleasantly, I think, surprised and enjoy a lot of things. It's also very convenient, very, very, very convenient, just and very modern. I think just with more of like a warm, extra warm, personal, chill feel.
Yeah, definitely Taipei felt very modern. So, I mean, my parents actually came to visit me, and it was totally not what they expected. It was their first time in Asia as well, and they were very impressed by the convenience, how well everything is sort of laid out. The sign everywhere is many signs are bilingual, so it's very much catering towards the multicultural sort of experience. Yeah.
We have another question that says,
Yes.
I learned Chinese with Pinyin. Would it be useful to learn Juyin? To be honest, I still have not learned Juyin. Some people have said that it is useful. The Juyin is mostly used for like school students, like native English, or sorry, native speakers of Chinese, right? Like native speakers of Chinese to help them with the pronunciation as they're learning the Chinese language. But for foreigners, Pinyin is definitely a lot more accessible and is easier in a lot of ways, as long as you can understand that Pinyin is its own system and is not equivalent with our English pronunciation.
Right. Once you kind of get the sounds of the different pinyin, the syllables, the combinations, and you realize that they do not sound the same way that you would intuitively read them if you were to read them in English, then I think using pinyin is definitely can be an efficient way to still continue learning, because Juin, I don't know. I mean, it could be cool, and I heard it's not too difficult to learn it, but I found that pinyin kind of works for the purposes of my learning so far. I can't say that I'm fluent in Chinese. So
I took language classes like at NTNU, which is the one of the universities in Taipei, and we'll always use pinyin, and then quickly went to characters, but for pronunciation, like pinyin was always what all of my teachers at the Language Institute used.
Yeah, the classes I was taking, I also feel like the jump from pinyin to characters is kind of, once you're ready to make that jump, I'm not sure if Juin would be in the middle of that. And if you've made the jump, I don't know if it's worthwhile to go back to Juin, but it could be useful. It's definitely, I know some of my friends did learn Juin, and that's why they said it's not too difficult to learn.
So we're just about to wrap up our time here. Thank you for those of you who joined us, who stuck along just to hear about us sharing and kind of reminiscing about our time in Taiwan, a place that we have really loved dearly and really enjoyed. And so I guess before we close, Daniel, do you have any kind of words of advice or closing remarks for anyone who's maybe considering moving to a country that's not their own?
Definitely do it. And I mean, that's the first advice, but I mean, I can't say I've done a lot of sort of living abroad, but a fair bit. And always just keep an open mind to try new things. Just remember that it is an experience and you don't really necessarily know what you're getting into, but it's important to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, essentially, because when you're in a new country, new culture, new language, there's bound to be situations where you're going to be uncomfortable, where you're going to misunderstand something, or you're going to know what you want to do, but actually being unable to do it yet, or unable to do it as independently as you were used to. So learning to be comfortable with that feeling is really important, because it is just a learning experience. So you're uncomfortable maybe the first time you're trying it, but then as you try it more and more, you will get better and you'll find your way of doing things in a new place. So I would definitely recommend that and going with an open mind. Lian, do you have any advice?
Oh, I would totally echo that about having an open mind. I think when you're living as an expat in a place that is not your country of origin or your culture of origin, keeping an open mind. Things are new and unfamiliar, and I think it's really easy when things are not the way we're used to them, that they may rub us the wrong way, and we maybe kind of get offended or assume ill intent, or just be like, oh, that's so weird, or that's so dumb, or what, that makes no sense. And I think it's easy to think of these things because we're coming at it with our own cultural lens. And so it's important to keep an open mind and be humble, because actually in that situation, you're the weird one. And just because something is the way that you're familiar with doesn't mean it's the only way of doing things. So I would say be open-minded, stay humble, and also be curious. Ask questions, keep an open mind, just seek to learn what you can. And I think if you do those things, you'll have a really amazing experience. So I guess with that, we'll close. If you're interested in learning more about teaching in Taiwan, this is where Daniel and I did our teaching in Taiwan with Foresight. So if you're interested in learning more about that, the website is there. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. That gets updated pretty regularly, sometimes sharing photos and things from life in Taiwan, and especially the teaching there. And then there's also the YouTube channel. So any of those things are great resources to connect. Hope this has been kind of fun, a little bit entertaining, a little bit useful. We wish you guys all the best with your own journey, and thanks for joining us.
All right. Okay. Thank you all for joining us.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.